Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 27 of Illium, our modded Cities 1 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Good news, everyone. The city has survived the race day patch, and we finally managed to load back in, post the Stockholm visit, of course. And perhaps just in time for today's build, the renewed history pack has arrived, which you can grab down below on Instant Gaming. That does help directly support the channel. However, I've been wondering what to put next to the factory district here for a long time, and I think a gentrified factory district, older industrial buildings that now function as modern commercial park and entertainment space, would be the perfect accompaniment to sit next to a downtown industrial area, with also metro and monorail to blend into the build today as well. But a happy Monday to you all, and welcome back to Illium, everyone. So today's star of the build is going to be the new renewed history buildings, at least a few of them. Probably not the towers out here. We might put some of these in the downtown eventually, but really want to focus on the gentrified assets today. Right, so first of all, we'll start with the biggest, which is certainly the sports centre. Now, the road network around here isn't particularly precious, so I'm happy to reform it. I'm almost tempted. Can I feed a monorail through there? Probably not. I think that's too much, isn't it? We won't do that. I definitely pushed my luck in the downtown, I think, feeding the monorail through buildings. So I will lay off of it. But this is a really fun pack, and we're going to have a lot of prop fun today as well, which we'll get into. But you know, you can totally envision. Doesn't this match just so well with the industrial factory across the road? That's really just probably one of my favourite sight lines. But I think in terms of positioning, I want this to be located certainly in and around this roundabout, I think. So I'll pull it over with move it. I'm going to set it to the height of the nodes over this way. And then the positioning again. You know, back in the day, they used to drive past this factory. Likely some retaining wall functions going to be needed. But what a wonderful and incredibly well-timed asset pack for this particular bit of the city, right? Again, big shout out to Crystallisto. He did a wonderful job here. I actually met him in Sweden, which was really wonderful. Especially since I'm such a fan of this pack as well. So bring our node along the side, and then we'll feed an entrance back into this district. Just do that for right now. We are, again, on pretty gnarly, uneven terrain here, so heights and little discrepancies will be addressed toward the end. And then I think we will just initially explore this retaining wall idea that we have here. Try not to use too many of them, because, you know, you're eating 3 nodes here just to have a retaining wall. But I think this definitely feels like a place for one. And I'll probably wrap the whole thing up here, blending in some sort of design to the back there, at least making all the keys walkable. Yeah, I think that does a lot for us there, doesn't it? Just that little layer. And this is going to add to our crawler grand in height as well, because I don't want to drop too small at this point, because like, our outer lying suburbia is going to be here, so I still want some medium to somewhat high density between here and there, which that building is absolutely fulfilling for us, isn't it? Brilliant. Old factory number 1 has been secured. I'm into another one now. I'd love to use this one, Mice Museum, of course plural for mice, but does this belong here? It's not too factory themed, which I don't massively mind. There is an older building tethered to it. I think it does, however, fit quite nicely with the monorail, doesn't it? Especially if we're going to start bringing in ye old faithful, everyone. Walkable concrete space. So let's flesh out the area behind the station here. Overplacing our aprons at least. And just, we'll have that there. Let's bring a pathway through. It's really so much fun, everyone, to be back playing CS1. I surprisingly missed it quite a lot while we're in Sweden. Really gotten used to my weekly CS1 city building fix. Cool. So we'll feed them down. And this opens up a lot more detailing here for our areas to come in. We could bring in some iconic brutalism for this build, but I'm thinking this is probably going to be its own separate brutalist plaza. Probably next episode we'll fill something on the park area with that. That gives us 2. Again, I think it's another relatively important sight line here, isn't it, for this arterial road coming down. Which is a little bit bumpy. I think we might just come in and remedy that. In terms of the model list as well, by the way, Illium's model list did have some warnings, but seems to have survived. If you're having any mod issues post-patch, come and join us in the Discord. And there's plenty of help in there for you to get loaded in if you're still struggling. But Illium's mod set, if you're playing along with it or using a similar setup, is still working. So this node here is a little too far forward as well. Let's pull this back. Pull red back. There we go. Yeah, it's just a bit smoother now, isn't it? Okay, happy with that. And then our next one here is going to be the central library, which is, again, another super factory-themed asset. Now, you could absolutely bring in some industrial evolution with these, which I think we might try and do, because we do have some industrial demand to satisfy. Again, just a grander gentrification vibe, right? The glass mixed with the old brick and smoke chimneys is such an incredible visual, isn't it? Again, this can sit on the main road off the couplet here. Which I was going to add in a road here to connect, but they have connections into this district off these 2 roundabouts, so it's probably a little unnecessary, to be honest. But I do like that here. Now, this pack also came with a bunch of new props, which include these, the actual placeable factories themselves. Which, of course, are buildings, so they're not going to function. Bending down with the terrain there. I think it is, isn't it? Can we set to the same height as the node? No, there we go. That was really weird. It was like warping the asset, wasn't it? I've never seen that before. Very interesting. Cool. So lots of old factory that are no longer in use for whatever reason. Likely due to modernization of manufacturing practices. But I can certainly envision them in a formation by the metro line here. And then lots of node controlled vanilla pathway here to create essentially a bit of a park. You can imagine these are kind of coffee shops now, bars, artisanal tea rooms, etc. A little bit of a hipster vibe to it. Lots of curvy node controlled pathway, which we'll get to once we've laid these down here. Bring another one in there. We'll definitely get some of those new parks in as well while we're here. Let's do... Yeah, because these come with some of the buildings as well, don't they? So we can get these to be functional. This will be quite welcome, I think. Now, just due to the fact we're on terrain, I might actually retrospectively upgrade these to be park pathways, because that way they'll force the terrain with them. Or something like that. And then we'll grab our node controller and really stretch out these path nodes. And wherever they appear, we'll have another one. And it'd be nice to get this metro flow in today. We might just go set up a temporary stop so we can see it kind of passing through what is essentially a bit of a gentrified park, really. So these props are warping with the terrain, which is a little strange. I've never seen that before. But that's okay, we can deal with that. And then any space that appears around the foot of the buildings, I just want to give it its concrete foundation. We will save some grass, don't worry, concrete please. I won't put it everywhere. Something like that, right? So this was ye old factory grounds, perhaps 30, 40 years ago. Illium's industry was made here, right? But now, it's a tourist attraction. So, I also want to grab some more of those props. Definitely some of these. Although without clipping the monorail, ideally. I'll do 2 of them. And then definitely some of these new designer tables and chairs out in the forecourt here. Other one's a little bit more restaurant themed. so we'll avoid using them where we can. Potential for another old warehouse here too. Do another one. Like maybe this was a little outbuilding for the main factory down here, right? And again, we use some of our ploppable surfaces just to tuck that in with our concrete area. Bring that down. And some trees through here, something quite fun. Palms and jacaranda, I imagine. Without encroaching upon the monorail to the best of our ability. So I can't really think of a place like this in the world. I feel like I have visited one in London, almost to the vibe of Battersea Power Station. For any of you unfortunate enough to live in the capital of England. It's kind of an old industrial site now, very much gentrified to be. I think Battersea's a mall, isn't it? Now, isn't it? And apartments, I think. We're sort of playing with that similar vein down here. Which the monorail is really helping with, isn't it? That really modernises everything through here. Fantastic. I can also see some other little spaces here, perhaps, where some more concrete would be welcome. Just to blend it up into there a little bit. Then we use some smaller 1x1s to complete that there. So that does begin to create a bit of an old style factory park through here now, doesn't it? Which I really like. I'm looking forward to retrofitting these little covers in and around different bits of the city as well. I wonder if it's a prop snapping issue that's causing the warping of the props. I've never seen any other pack behave like that. Okay. that's the challenge, isn't it? But that's very nice. I really like how this is looking so far. Let's jump back into our unique buildings. And we can explore the Innovation Hub, which is above a large brick industrial building. A bold structure rises, supported by columns. The Innovation Hub is a unique building attracting startups with high-level jobs. Or a park for CS1 simulation. Now again, I think because of just how modern this asset is, it deserves to be within orbit of the monorail, doesn't it? Again, I'd love to have it just off the road. Something like that. We're not too getting too gnarly here, are we? This monorail is quite gnarly, actually. I think with that in mind, let's just do a little bit more network multi-slope in here. Or move it, whichever your preferred option is. Let's say down to the first node out of the station. I imagine that's going to cut it heavily into the ground. It is, which is fine. Thankfully, our terrain prep over this massive hill is really going to allow our networks like this to flourish quite nicely, I think. Let's push that back a touch and then a bit of a... Oh, that's too much, actually. There we go. Just a bit of a soften. So that should bring the monorail down much closer to the earth. Yeah, it is. It is clipping a little bit. We'll just need to fix that. Just bring that up a couple of notches with move it. Nothing too crazy. We did just mention the metro as well, so we'll address that transit while we're over here. Just going to briefly install a temporary station, which will likely come off of this in some capacity. Obviously, this isn't anything massively concrete at the minute. And again, as another possible tease, this metro ride one day will make one of the better first-person tours. As this is, you can imagine it disappearing over the hills and far away into the hilly suburbs of Illium. And then we'll follow it all the way down. So we'll cross over our little motorway highway valley here with massively node-controlled intersections. Can't help myself. We'll come through today's build, which is yet to be finished. Swooping down through here, through all this park area into the downtown space. Again, through some pretty gnarly terrain. Back into the station where we can currently see our cars. Through the city centre, right through all the buildings. Into the central station, which is getting busier every day. Around the coast, along the water. Of course, through the entertainment district here. Which I think where is actually we might retrofit some of those renewed history towers today in the skyline. all the way to the airport, where it might eventually continue. We touched on this. I think I might bring it parallel with the terminal, and then bring it off over here, so it essentially runs parallel with the rail. But that does give me double rail metro alignment over here, which isn't planned. I'm thinking maybe a racetrack over here, by the way. Been thinking of what to put here. But I think a bit of maybe a Canada-inspired race circuit where it's right by the water and the cities in the background. So yeah, let me know what you think of that. If you want to see Ranox possibly first, I imagine there might be a few of them. Race circuit on this little peninsula opposite the airport. Good public transit connections. Might be a good spot for it, that. But case in point, that metro ride one day will be very cool. I think that's all the unique buildings from the pack I want to use in this area. Yeah, all the other ones are a little bit... Again, do we want to test a tower? Absolutely not. No, we don't. No, we do not, is the answer to that. Goodbye. Cool. So going over here, we do have some fun layers. Now, this area here is, I think, just going to remain park space, likely as part of the wider zoo and opening central park build that will sit atop the hillside. But I'd certainly love to prep some transit connections into that and blending them into our renewed history plazas here. Just thinking, there is already pathways here, isn't there? Yeah, I did prep them. Okay, we'll blend it into this then. We'll pull that down, and then we'll have our next walking pathway here. This is going to come up to 6 meters across the metro and then back down again. That should be okay. Let's do a little bit of forest brush here. And thank you for all the new people arriving from the race day promotions as well I did for Paradox. It's so nice to see all the CS1 content still getting views this many years later. So thank you. It's I had lots of new people watching the Noob's Guide. One of my favourite series we've made on the channel. Palavin is getting a big spike. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Massively appreciated. You are literally paying my mortgage by sitting there. Thank you so much. Very generous. Also, node control looks like it might go well here. Let's also push red and orange open a little bit. That is really steep, isn't it? Okay, I think I'm just going to change the angle of this one slightly. I would like it out of this same node. I'm just going to bring it off on a much wider angle. Just so I can get that particular style in. We are getting the grass sprites coming through there, but we can actually surface paint them away. I'll show that off in a second. So that one come down. That one can come in, and then we'll go back down to ground as we emerge here. And then this can be integrated pathway into park areas, further attractions as we address the part 2 of the central park build. And then we'll do a few things here just to tidy things up. We'll grab the node of the path to the same height as the road it arrives at. And a little bit more forest brush through here as well. Just tidy that up there. And we could do a slope. I think it's likely to make it worse though at this instance. Probably eat in a little bit too much. It's not too bad. It's okay. Cool. So some quite geometric looking pathways in and around the crossing of the metro I think would be quite welcome. And then we'll just add the airport apron that we removed. Back in. And then we'll talk about surface painter. So if you get the grass sprites coming through, a little bit of surface painter just gets rid of them. There we go. I can deal with that there. And this will be probably quite nice for a little statue. Although I think I'm likely to download some more statue props off the workshop because I am repeating the plazas and promenades variants everywhere. It's a shame Brutalism didn't bring any new statues. I think of all the packs, that one would have been possibly most suited, wouldn't it? But I really like this. Little geometric, warped, node-controlled pathways. Helping people cross back over. And they can emerge into the big attraction park here. So I'm quite interested to see just how many people these are going to draw, these new unique buildings. Especially with so much transit in the area as well. Do we have buses to factor in? We do actually have underground metro to consider. Although, is it really worth it now to have overground? Yeah, I think I'm going to leave this one here. Actually, I mentioned a few episodes ago I would possibly bring this stop into the plaza, but there's already so much transit here, we really don't need any more. And then to continue the big gentrified park vibes over this way, I'm going to carry on, move the path all the way through, which will then give me that little bit of concrete foundational space I need to wrap up the building here. Yeah, not all the way. Bring it down there. I'll add in some of our favourite trees along the edge. Quite colourful. Oaks, palms, jacarandas, maybe one too many jacarandas there. I'm wondering, because we've got this massive concrete slab here, how well a parking lot would actually work here. Probably quite well, I imagine. And it also gives us the functional parking space for such a massive touristic district as well. Can I just fuse you onto the back? Also sort of brings a somewhat nicer end for the key as well, if we can get it right. I don't hate that. Public transit police won't be massively happy with it, I don't think. But again, right, even in the foreground of the actual still working industry, this in particular being a Sunset Harbour garbage processing asset, how well does that work? Like, seriously blown away by this pack. It wasn't a pack I really ever considered. I probably would have chose something else if he'd given me the option for new ones, but Crystallisto really nailed this. An incredibly versatile pack. Quite looking forward to playing with a lot of this stuff on the waterfront as well. I think I'm happy with that then. It's starting to fill the space out quite nicely, isn't it? And before we do move into a grander detailing space for all these areas intertwined around the metro and whatnot, I did mention some industrial evolution as a possible accompaniment to that. And there's a nice little block here, still left divided from the road structure episode. So we'll just tidy up our trees. And our terrain as well. Just a nice grandmaster soften will do there. Perfect. And then we'll come into plopping here. So we'll go for our industrial evolution, which is easy to find. And I probably want the larger of the assets, just as an initial testing space. So let's go side by side. And see just how similar they are. There's a few different coloured brick variants, but overall it really works well together, doesn't it? There you go. Quite an obvious spice combination, but renewed history and industrial evolution are very nice together. And to help satisfy some of that industrial demand, we'll go for those assets. So I'd like these factory districts to be lined up parallel with the metro. So we'll do 2 tiles of space between the line and the district. Can you go under? Not really. Is there a need for you to go under? I wouldn't mind connecting it into that, maybe. It's not massively connected. No, it's fine. I feel like I'm forcing that. We don't need it to go under. There's other connections over there. And I'm just going to filter for Industrial Revolution. Let's remove our lot size, actually. And I think perhaps lots of these particular assets, the shaped roofs are really what I'm after here. So we'll get our visual in. And I think an alignment like that, I do want them joined, but I don't mind how they sort of step down there really with the change in elevation. And then I'll do blocks of 3 of these, I think. And if you're with vanilla, you can do this with zoning and historicaling, but you'll be here forever. So, do it at your own risk. You can almost imagine, you know, this smaller industrial here that is still functioning is almost next to being in line for gentrification as property developers try and buy out older, less viable industrial buildings to wrap them in the wider, more expensive downtown district. So I think we'll have a lot of fun with those, bringing that sort of idea together. Road. How do you want to connect you in? I think probably here is alright, isn't it? That'll do. And then we'll definitely bring in some of those renewed history props as well. So let's grab... Try not to use the same asset every time. Although I wouldn't mind one of these here. Maybe fused in with the Industrial Evolution, everyone. Although, those... Is that supposed to happen? Is this the first bit pack? No, there has been other packs. Hold on. Let me go to... like this one. Like, do the countryside barns warp with the terrain? No, they don't. Yeah, it's just these ones. For some reason. I wonder if that's... I'm not sure. I'm not an asset creator, so I couldn't possibly speak as to what might cause that, but... I assure you, it's causing me no end of issues. Because it's... warping like bread. So I think you'll get the general idea and concept with that, right? That's such a unique take on builds we can run in now, just thanks to some props here. Massive. Whilst we do have a new district going in here, I wouldn't mind looking at some of the service buildings. The general hospital, I think, is quite big. Yeah, this definitely belongs in a downtown area. We'll check out some of the other ones. Police headquarters is quite nice. Oh, I do like that there, you know. It's a little bit more medium density for me, which, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, is something I still really want to leave in. Yeah, I think I can just about tolerate the police station. That also gives us a police station as well for the whole Central Park. We won't need another one up here. So I think we'll go with that. The building on the front is maybe a little out of style than I would probably like for here, but I'll blend it in. It'll be fine. But otherwise, with the renewed history down, it's time to update it with some detailing. Tons of little spaces all around the station here to detail with props. And further factory combinations, I'll definitely get more of these in. I think especially against the entrance into the city here down the coupler system. That'll look quite nice there. And then tie it all together with transit, detailing, and our usual spices, as it's time to renew some history. So grab yourself some snacks, and we'll be right back with detailing time-lapse. Alright guys, let's have a little look around our gentrified district, shall we? Which has turned out so much nicer than I ever anticipated it to. Off the roundabout, we have our two unique buildings sat next to each other, which I'm a huge fan of this one. This is probably my favourite from the pack, I think. Just stunning asset. And there's a full showcase of these on the channel if you're interested in checking them all out up close. Through here, some landscaping on the edge of our big tourism attraction here, with all our old red brick buildings all visible amongst glass and these kind of like modern pergolas and domes. Such a cool visual. Like, I loved this pack much more than I thought I would when I first kind of saw it in early access. I was like, yeah, these will be cool. But my god, is it fun to play with some new props. In and around the foot of the buildings, of course, lots of plaza detailing through here. Cafes, restrooms, food stalls, tables, bins. Lots of good times to be had. A little bit of surface paint as well between the metro, just for a change in texture. Not too many people using the pathway, unfortunately, but I imagine it will get significantly busier once we cram the top of the park, which will be Central Park Part 2, essentially, to lie on the crest of the build here. Which will be full of tourism unique buildings, essentially. So hopefully the path will get some use at some point, but how about that? Especially with the warehouses in the background here, and how well does that museum actually blend in with the warehouses there as well? Possibly the best, well, one of the best transitions in the city, I think. That's a really nice viewpoint here. really, really love that. So it's the first time I'm seeing it myself, actually, from this particular perspective. And hello Metro people as well, right? See people down here having a good time. Great to see. There's detailing, rocks, flowers through here, completion of the retaining walls, of which there's a couple of them around. And some more perhaps still functioning factories sat on their own little concrete foundation here with some props around them, mixed in amongst gentrified and perhaps still functioning. Dropped in one of the new parks, which is a real beast. It's got one of the domes on it and several of these covers, of course with our pathway anarchied through it, which is taking them through the walkable concrete space. Down and into this district again with a really industrial view over to the factory from many episodes ago. So I thoroughly love this area. Possibly, I think my favourite area of Illium. The views around here are great. Maybe it's just because it's new assets. Things we've never seen before, right? Over here, a repetition of plaza design. Taking people to metro, back onto the pathways, some bollard detailing through here as well, in multiple instances. We'll check out some of the ridership while we're here, shall we? See how we're faring over this end of Illium. 179 on the metro, and 93 on the monorail. Very nice. Imagine that'll continue to go up, especially once the park exists next to it, because this will be a primary way of getting into the park. These two transit connections here. Probably also feature a bus hub up here as well that'll connect smaller bus lines into the smaller builds out this way. Obviously we want to drop kind of the mass heavy network stuff now because the monorail ends here, so we'll probably replace the monorail service with buses beyond this point, likely with that transit stop actually, just to think out loud for a hot second there. Some metro up here as we see a little bit of scurry as people arrive via the metro. Walking into part 2 of the park, which spills out with one of the other unique buildings, of course, pathway anarchied through the back door. So we're getting that visual. There we go. Isn't that cool? And they emerge out here at the front. That landscaping, benches, more of those covers, some signage to perhaps indicate some information on what the factory once did during its heyday, and now it's a garden centre or perhaps a pottery workshop, something along those sorts of lines. Which sits really nicely with the fence on the metro, weaving again between that sand texture that comes back in against the transit network. This big monorail sweeping over and down. So cool. Love that view there. And the monorail just blended perfectly with the park, wasn't it? Like, literally, this park was made for this exact area of Illium. What perfect timing. I'm so glad I didn't build here before waiting for this to come out. Surface extensions all the way through. Before we come to quite an interesting combination next to the hospital here, which again, how well does the monorail blend with the hospital too, right? My word. Love that. This is a liberal arts media lab. This is Recode for me as a residential building. So this is the ploppable Reco mod down here. Under my high density residential, you will see the trade school media lab. For reference, that has actually taken it from the trade school menu. You actually don't even see it here anymore. Because the game now reads it as a residential building, not a campus one. I did that in Thessia quite a while ago now, but it's always just remained a residential building for me. They had a car parking a little bit on the road there. So yeah, that's what I went with here. A little bit more retaining wall as well, just to where we had a bit more immediate change in height. Which then comes into fencing, which has been used using the new upgrade to road tool, of course, that came with the race day update. Absolutely wonderful scenes. This will save us thousands of nodes across a build. In fact, it's likely to go back and retrofit a lot of this on-road fencing as opposed to network fencing. It's like, you know, exactly here, right? I'll save, what, probably 10, 15 nodes there, just in one stretch. Like, it's massive quality of life for node builds, that. If only we had that for Palaven, right? And Orchid Bay. So yeah, that carries on down here into some expanded concrete space around the foot of the factories with props. There's trucks knocking about here as well. Of course, we got that prop pack a couple episodes ago now to be able to place trucks here. With some smaller supporting industrial revolution stuff all over here. With amazing views back up to the gentrified area, right? So cool. Really, really love it. I'm not usually one to toot my own horn so hard over the builds. I like to stay modest, but I really, really just enjoy the new assets in play here today in orbit of such a massive factory district as well. Yeah, absolute ton of fun, which I think will be a fun place to say goodbye. An enormous shout out to the YouTube members and patrons that bankroll these videos, with a shout out to our Golden Egg patrons: Casino, Spartan Angel, Michael W, Phoenix MD, Blythe, Jamin, Great C, Bryce Johnson, Sean, and Trevor Larson. Absolutely insane that there is so many of you now. Thank you so much for all of your incredible support. Links down below to Instant Gaming and Patreon, best ways to get involved with that if you want to. Let me know how you guys are enjoying these new DLCs. I'm yet to really stick some proper hours in with Brutalism outside of recording the early access stuff before Sweden, but we'll definitely get stuck into some of that next episode, I think, while these DLCs are still fresh and I can farm them for views. But there is an awful lot of fun to be had with this pack. I'd definitely recommend it if you're on the fence about new CS1 DLC. I will repurpose these many times across many cities, I'm sure. Either way, hang around for the cinematics and I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.